I'm in my Buddha chair today. Looks very grand on the TV screen. I get lots of people writing to me. And the majority of questions are people wanting me to comment or tell them what to do on a life circumstance, on something that's happening to them in the flow of life. I also get questions about awareness and no-thingness and everything, and lots of different questions and responses, but the majority are wanting me to comment about a life situation, wanting me to tell them what to do. And I have nothing to give. Nothing to give in this situation. This teaching is not about making the flow of life work in a certain way. And in the flow of life, I'm also talking about emotions and responses to situations. This isn't about changing responses. This isn't about changing emotions. Change of emotions and responses can happen. Huge changes in the personality can happen in awakening, but also people can stay the same. This is about seeing that none of that is you, is who you are. Your reactions, and it's tricky because I'm saying your reactions aren't who you are. Your circumstance, and it feels so personal. I really understand this. I intellectually remember it. I remember it. And there's really nothing the character can do about the life situations. So say if somebody is rude to you or aggressive to you, and it sticks in your mind, and your mind keeps going over and over and over again. How dare they say that? Who do they think they are? Oh, I'm going to tell them what's forth. Wait till I next see them. I'm going to tell them what a beep they are, and da 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 da, and on it goes. And all the time you're feeling so uncomfortable. So the mind concludes, I've got to stop thinking. I've got to stop feeling this. But you can't. You can't make yourself stop feeling this. In that situation, you can't make yourself go into silence. If only I could stay in silence. If only I could have a silent mind. That whole dynamic is suffering, is what's veiling the silence. Behind that, the silence is watching it. The space is watching it. And I almost want to say, I'm sorry that I can't give you any hope. I really understand how uncomfortable suffering is. And people so desperately want me to say, yes, in this situation, you must do 10 mantras and walk around the house in silent meditation. You must do service, you must do da-da. None of it will get you out of suffering. Because in suffering, Part of suffering is trying to get out of suffering, is wanting to get out of suffering. That is part of it. When you're happy, you're never trying to avoid anything. You never want anything else. That's the dynamic between happiness and sadness. So when you are happy, you won't have that feeling. Suffering always comes with the feeling, get me out of this, get me out of this. Whether you think it's a situation outside of you, whether you think it's an emotional situation inside of you, whatever it is, suffering is. Some people will think, trying to get out of suffering, that dynamic is some sort of truth, is me searching for truth, is helping the situation, is you, is some good element, or what will get you out of all this mind confusion. But any time you're trying to get out of suffering, of anything, that is suffering. That's that. And it's a brutal message. I know this. I remember it. I remember staying in bed for 4 days when I realized I couldn't get out of suffering. Trying to get out of suffering was suffering. And so I got into bed and I stayed in bed for 4 days, pissed off with God, with life. All that seems to come out of Lisa's mouth is talking about what happiness is and what suffering is. There's no prescription here, just description. And I'm not saying that any of the teachers that you go to that prescribe you things to do are wrong. I'm not saying they're right. They are what they are. And people on this path get caught up in looking at emotions and thoughts. And they think their happiness is in getting certain emotions or certain thoughts. And you can spend your whole life seeking in that. Seeking to have certain thoughts. Seeking for the still mind, a silent mind. Seeking for certain emotional reactions. I'm not a teacher. There are teachers out there. I had a teacher. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not a teacher. I do not see students. I do not see people to help anymore. Why? Because I can't see a Lisa in here that needs help anymore. If I were to see a Lisa in here that needs help, if I were to be able to sense suffering or somebody here, then I would project that out and see that in others, see others that need help. I don't see that. I see everyone as liberated. And sometimes it's almost a surprise when they tell me they're suffering. It sounds odd. I'm sitting there with someone and smiling and laughing, and then they tell me they're suffering, and it's surprising. I'm always ready for you to be happy. In the dynamics of a separate self, people are always trying to get the other to be somebody, to be a role. I'm just always ready for you to be happy. In the dynamic of self and other, they're always wanting you to play a role. And they perceive themselves as somebody and somebody else as an other. They're always wanting you to play a role, which is the opposite to happiness.